Mark Haddon's The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, 2003, is a genre-defying novel that blends elements of mystery, Bildungsroman, and psychological fiction. Narrated by Christopher Boone, a 15-year-old boy with autism spectrum condition, though the text never explicitly diagnoses him. The novel offers an intimate look into a neurodivergent mind. What begins as a detective story about the murder of a neighbor's dog quickly evolves into a deeper exploration of truth, family, trust, and personal growth. Haddon's novel is remarkable for its unique narrative voice, nonlinear storytelling, and mathematical structure, mirroring Christopher's way of thinking. It challenges assumptions about normality and disability, and ultimately affirms the value of difference, honesty, and independence. The premise. The novel opens with Christopher discovering the dead body of Wellington, his neighbor Mrs. Shear's dog, in the front yard, killed with a garden fork. Shocked and curious, Christopher decides to investigate the murder. Inspired by his favorite detective, Sherlock Holmes, he begins to write a book chronicling the case. This becomes the novel the reader is holding. Christopher lives in Swindon, England, with his father, Ed Boone, and attends a school for students with special educational needs. His condition makes him highly intelligent, especially in math and logic, but socially awkward and sensitive to sensory overload. Despite his father's warning to stay out of other people's business, Christopher pursues his investigation. Along the way, he uncovers far more than he expected. His journey reveals not only who killed Wellington but also shocking truths about his family. The investigation. As Christopher interviews neighbors and collects clues, his father becomes increasingly upset, eventually confiscating his notebook. Later, while searching for the notebook, Christopher discovers a stack of letters addressed to him from his supposedly dead mother. This revelation devastates Christopher. He learns that his mother, Judy Boone, is alive and living in London with Mr. Shears, a man from their neighborhood. His father had lied about her death, telling Christopher she died of a heart condition. The letters show she left after an affair with Mr. Shears and due to the difficulty of parenting a neurodivergent child. To make matters worse, Ed Boone eventually confesses to killing Wellington in a moment of rage, an act driven by emotional instability and unresolved anger over his relationship with Mrs. Shears. Christopher's journey to London. Terrified and betrayed, Christopher decides to run away and find his mother. The journey to London is one of the most compelling sections of the novel, illustrating the immense challenges Christopher faces navigating a chaotic and overstimulating world. Using a series of logical steps and maps, Christopher takes a train to London, overcoming fears of crowds, strangers, and unpredictability. His resilience and ingenuity highlight his capability, even as he struggles with anxiety. Reunion and aftermath. Christopher finds his mother in London, and she is both thrilled and distraught to see him. She immediately takes him back to Swindon, where they begin to rebuild their relationship. Ed Boone, remorseful, tries to regain Christopher's trust, giving him a pet dog named Sandy as a peace offering. Christopher resumes school, takes his A-level mathematics exam, and passes with top marks, something he had been working toward throughout the novel. In the final pages, Christopher reflects on everything he has accomplished, solving the mystery, surviving the journey to London, and succeeding academically. While he does not entirely forgive his father, he expresses a newfound confidence and belief in his ability to shape his future. Character analysis. Christopher John Francis Boone. Christopher is a 15-year-old with behavioral difficulties consistent with autism spectrum disorder, though the novel does not name the condition. He is mathematically gifted, with a prodigious memory and a deep love for logic, astronomy, and prime numbers. He struggles with understanding emotions, metaphors, and social conventions. His narrative is deeply literal and fact-driven. He finds comfort in patterns and predictability and is distressed by noise, crowds, and physical touch. Despite these challenges, Christopher is intensely brave, embarking on a journey that would be daunting for anyone, especially someone with his sensitivities. Christopher's development over the novel is subtle but powerful. He moves from a dependence on rigid routines to embracing the unknown, showing that growth doesn't mean changing who you are but learning how to navigate the world on your own terms. Ed Boon, Christopher's father. Ed Boon is a complex character, loving yet deeply flawed. He is devoted to Christopher, caring for him alone after Judy's departure. However, his dishonesty about his wife's whereabouts and Wellington's death reveals his emotional immaturity and inability to cope with the pressures of parenting a neurodivergent child. Ed's frustration often manifests in anger, but he also shows vulnerability and love. His breakdowns are understandable in context, though not justifiable. His relationship with Christopher is severely damaged by his actions, but the novel allows room for reconciliation and the slow rebuilding of trust. Judy Boon, Christopher's mother. Judy is portrayed as a warm but overwhelmed woman who leaves after struggling with Christopher's needs and feeling isolated. Her affair with Mr. Shears and her physical absence initially position her as neglectful, but the letters reveal deep remorse and affection for her son. Judy's return marks the beginning of a redemptive arc. She strives to rebuild their relationship and respect Christopher's boundaries and needs. Her character highlights the emotional toll of caregiving and the guilt often felt by parents who do not meet societal ideals. Mrs. Alexander. An elderly neighbor, Mrs. Alexander provides key information during Christopher's investigation. She is kind, patient, and understanding, acting as a surrogate grandmother figure. Her willingness to talk to Christopher on his own terms contrasts with the other adults who either patronize or ignore him. Mr. Shears, Roger Shears. Mr. Shears is largely absent in the novel but functions as a symbol of betrayal, both in his affair with Judy and as the man Christopher mistakenly suspects of killing Wellington. He represents the chaotic adult world that Christopher struggles to comprehend. Major themes. 1. Truth and lies. The most central theme of the novel is truth, its necessity, its complexity, and its consequences. Christopher cannot tolerate lies. He sees the world in black and white and struggles with the idea that people often hide or distort reality. Both of his parents lie to him. His father lies about his mother's death and killing the dog, while his mother hides her abandonment. These lies shatter Christopher's world, and the novel explores how lies, whether well-intentioned or not, erode trust and destabilize relationships. Yet, the novel also complicates the idea of truth. Christopher's honesty can be hurtful or inappropriate in social contexts, raising questions about whether truth is always the right path. 2. Difference and neurodiversity. Haddon never explicitly labels Christopher's condition, allowing readers to focus on his experience rather than a diagnosis. The novel challenges readers to see the world through the eyes of someone with a radically different cognitive style. Rather than pathologize Christopher, Haddon shows how his logic and focus allow him to solve problems and survive hardship. The novel is a plea for understanding, accommodation, and empathy for neurodivergent individuals. It also critiques a society that expects neurodivergent people to adapt while failing to adapt itself to include them. 3. Family and forgiveness. Family in The Curious Incident is fraught and fractured, but it is also a source of love and resilience. The Boon family is broken by infidelity, dishonesty, and the pressure of raising a neurodivergent child. But through time and effort, they begin to mend. Forgiveness is difficult, particularly for Christopher, who struggles with emotional nuance. Yet the novel ends with a gesture toward healing, showing that while relationships cannot return to what they were, they can be rebuilt on new terms. 4. Isolation and communication. Christopher lives in a world that is confusing, noisy, and often unkind. His need for order, logic, and literalism isolates him, even from those who love him. Yet he finds ways to communicate, through writing, drawing, and mathematics. The novel portrays communication as a bridge between internal and external worlds. Christopher's journey is not just geographic but communicative. He learns to assert his needs, ask questions, and navigate relationships. 5. Courage and independence. While Christopher may not express fear or courage in conventional ways, his actions demonstrate enormous bravery. His journey to London, navigating public transport, crowds, and unfamiliar environments, is a heroic feat. The novel is ultimately a coming-of-age story, charting Christopher's path to greater autonomy. By the end, he expresses confidence that he can live independently, go to university, and achieve his goals. Narrative style and literary devices. 1. First-person perspective. The novel is narrated by Christopher, giving readers direct access to his thoughts, perceptions, and logical reasoning. His voice is unique, literal, factual, detailed, and devoid of emotional embellishment. This perspective immerses the reader in a neurodivergent worldview, challenging assumptions about how stories can be told. 2. Visual and mathematical elements. The text includes diagrams, maps, lists, and mathematical problems, reflecting Christopher's thought processes. The chapters are numbered using prime numbers, which hold special meaning for Christopher and symbolize order in a chaotic world. These devices also function to break traditional narrative forms, reinforcing the novel's central themes of difference and perception. 3. Intertextuality and illusion. Christopher references Sherlock Holmes, particularly the Hound of the Baskervilles, as a model for his investigation. This allusion underscores the novel's structure as a mystery while highlighting the difference between fictional logic and real-life complexity. 4. Irony and dramatic tension. Because Christopher's narration is limited to what he understands, the novel often uses dramatic irony. The reader understands more than the narrator does. This creates emotional tension and highlights the disconnect between knowledge and emotional understanding. Conclusion. Mark Haddon's The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is a richly layered, emotionally resonant novel that challenges conventional storytelling through the lens of a neurodivergent narrator. It begins as a mystery but unfolds into a profound exploration of trust, trauma, independence, and the many ways in which people seek to understand and be understood. Through Christopher Boone's journey, from a sheltered boy in Swindon to a young man who solves a mystery, confronts betrayal, and travels to London alone, the novel affirms the possibility of growth and self-determination in the face of adversity. By allowing readers to experience the world through Christopher's eyes, Haddon fosters empathy and asks us to rethink how we define normality, intelligence, and courage. The novel stands as a celebration of difference, a tribute to resilience, and a deeply human story about the bonds that sustain us, even when they break.